Okay, let's unpack this. We are stepping into a fiercely protected world of powerful witch hunters, a world that is supposed to be absolutely rigid, disciplined, and above all, perfect.
Right.
They hunt immortal vampires.
Hmm.
But the sources we have, these excellent excerpts from the text, all just glass, they show us that the deepest, most devastating conflict isn't between species. It's internal.
It's always internal.
It's what happens when an ancient ironclad law smashes headfirst into modern identity, messy human emotion, and, conflicting family loyalties.
That's exactly the core tension we're going to be exploring today. The foundation of this entire deep dive is a single catastrophic family event. A prominent witch family, the Vida line, is instantaneously torn apart.
And it's because one of their daughters, Sarah, is transformed into a vampire.
Yes. This traumatic act triggers the invocation of an ancient, unforgiving doctrine known as the rights of kin.
And this isn't just a dramatic family disagreement that stays behind closed doors, right? This ancient law has a terrifying explosive cascade effect that tears through the entire witch society.
Oh, absolutely. It fundamentally changes the political dynamics with the vampire world.
So our mission today is to follow that chain reaction.
Mm-hmm.
We are tracking the consequences of this law from the matriarch's desperate, panicked need for control all the way down to how this mandate forces every single player,
Every one of them.
whether they are a hunter striving for perfection or one of the hunted trying to survive, to confront their most closely held beliefs about duty, loyalty, and their own identity.
Well, you put it perfectly. The sources show us a society built on self-denial and rigid structure, and the moment that structure is compromised, everything just collapses.
Right.
We're tracking the consequences of a single unforgiving doctrine when it's applied to a highly complex, deeply emotional situation. The true danger here, as we'll reveal, isn't the threat posed by vampire fangs or super strength,
Yeah.
but the brittle, unsustainable nature of their own internal hunter society. We are looking for the moment that perfection fails.
So to understand the sheer destructive power of the rights of kin, we first have to understand the people it governs. It's not just one homogenous group of witches.
Not at all. We're talking about the descendants of Mocht, the original tribe of witches. And over time, this lineage split into 4 distinct lines, each with its own focus, its own function, and its own philosophy.
And the critical point is, the rights of kin is meant to compel unity, but it does so by crushing those very differences.
That distinction is paramount. Let's start at the top of the hierarchy, the ones driving this conflict, the Vida line.
Okay.
They are the primary hunters, the ones focused on cultivating raw, offensive, magical power. But more than that, they are defined by an obsessive kind of perfection and self-control. They are the ruthless face of the witch world.
And that code of perfection is immediately suspicious, isn't it? The very fact that they are so rigid, so intensely focused on control, it suggests that they're constantly compensating for something deep and unstable within their lineage. Why else would you need such brutal self-discipline if you weren't, terrified of what happens when you let go?
That's the irony this deep dive uncovers. Their perfection is not strength. It's a mask for profound generational trauma and weakness. And we'll see that play out through the matriarch Dominique in a really devastating way.
Okay, so you have the Vidas. Who are the others?
Moving down the line, we have the smoke line. They are fundamentally different. They are the healers, sworn specifically to nonviolence.
So the complete opposite of the Vidas.
It's a complete opposite. And crucially, they own the single Earth Haven, which is meant to be the neutral ground, the one safe harbor for the entire witch community, a place where fighting is forbidden.
A sanctuary.
Yes. Then you also have the Aaron line.
The Aaron line, right.
They're known for speed and physical strength, specializing in offensive magic. They are the frontline fighters, but they are also dwindling. Michael Aaron is specifically noted as being the last witch of his line.
The last one. Wow.
Yeah.
That fact puts immense, almost existential pressure on him, doesn't it? Every risk he takes is literally risking the extinction of his entire heritage.
Every single one. And finally, you have the intellectual backbone, the Marinich line.
The scholars.
Scholars, talented in the mental arts, empathy, and telepathy. While some Marinich witches do hunt, their primary strength is intellectual analysis, understanding motive.
And their involvement, as we'll see, is crucial because their empathic nature forces them to see the humanity in the hunted.
Which is exactly what the Vida Law is designed to suppress.
Right, to suppress any kind of nuance.
So you have these 4 distinct, specialized communities, all operating under separate codes of conduct, suddenly forced together by one catastrophic event. Dominique Vida's daughter, Sarah, is turned into a vampire by the twins, Nicholas and Christopher.
And Dominique's reaction is just total denial and finality.
It's absolute. She refuses to acknowledge Sarah's existence, declaring her dead. The source quotes her saying, "There is a vampire out there wearing her shape, her skin."
She views the transformation as the death of her kin, not a change of state.
Not at all. For her, the daughter she knew is gone. This deep-seated fear and trauma is what provides the necessary fuel for invoking the rights of kin.
And this law, it's not some modern piece of legislation, is it? It's something much older.
It's ancient, primal, and steeped in blood. The source material tells us this wasn't written down initially. It was spoken by the very first Vida after her mother was brutally slain before her eyes and passed down orally for centuries.
So it's more like a blood oath than a law.
Exactly. It is an articulation of pure, unadulterated vengeance meant to prevent the extinction of the line through external violence.
Let's break down the language of that mandate because it is terrifyingly specific and, as you noted, completely inflexible. What exactly does the rights of kin compel every descendant of Mach to do?
It demands total, unwavering commitment. The specific wording is, it's chilling. When witchkin is slain, there shall be no safe haven, no higher law to protect the guilty. Every hunter shall turn her blade to the task, and there shall be no rest until those responsible have been slain.
That phrase, no safe haven, no higher law, that is the bomb that explodes the entire social structure, isn't it?
It is.
It means that every existing treaty, every truce, every alliance, every internal philosophy that separates the lines, healers, scholars, hunters, it all gets wiped clean.
Precisely. The stakes instantly escalate from a simple hunt to a system-wide civil war. Invoking this law compels all descendants of Machvidas, Arun, Marinich, and Smoke to drop everything and assist.
It doesn't matter if you are a smoke witch sworn to nonviolence or an Arun with your own duties.
None of it matters. You are now subordinate to the Vida matriarch's vengeance.
And the most immediate consequence of this legal nuclear option is the destruction of the Single Earth Haven's neutrality.
The one place that was supposed to be safe.
This sanctuary, owned by the Smoke Witches, was supposed to be protected ground, a place where hunters were unwelcome. It was the only neutral territory in their entire world.
And Dominique's invocation renders that peace treaty meaningless in an instant. The law demands no safe haven, and therefore Single Earth is immediately compromised.
We see this play out in the initial operational orders. Adiana, or Idea, the younger sister, she's placed in charge of the primary hunt.
Right. Her targets are Nicholas, Christopher, and primarily the creature wearing Sarah's form. That phrasing alone tells you everything about the Vida mindset.
It's so dehumanizing.
Completely. And the law's power is instantaneous. Sarah, who had fled to Single Earth precisely because it was meant to be protected, is immediately warned by Karen Smoke.
The head of the smoke line.
Yes. She says, you have to leave. Single Earth can't give you anything. The moment the law is invoked, Sarah has to flee again, signaling to the listener just how overriding this authority is over the entire community. It's a legal emergency measure that trumps everything.
And this active invocation, while it's ostensibly about Sarah, the sources really suggest it's truly about Dominique's personal history and fear, right?
Oh, entirely. She uses her family's long history of tragic losses, the deaths of Rose, Jacqueline, Richard, and the father of her children, as evidence that their past approach has failed. She justifies this radical invocation by stating she believes the current members are the last of the Vida line.
So it's an act of desperation.
It is. She's driving the remaining witches, already dwindling, toward a radical ancient solution, effectively gambling their entire future on a primal act of vengeance.
Wait, if the Arun line is already down to Michael, and the Vidas believe they are almost extinct, then this rights of kin sounds less like a survival strategy and more like...
Well, like mutually assured destruction.
That's a perfect way to put it.
Isn't Dominique essentially dragging every remaining powerful witch into a war with ancient, supremely powerful vampires like Kendra and Kaleo who have centuries of experience and powerful allies? Absolutely. And Michael Aaron even notes as he witnesses the invocation that his line, too, is nearly extinguished. He sees the writing on the wall immediately.
He knows this is a bad idea.
He knows it's suicide. The rights of kin, while designed to protect kin, is fundamentally self-destructive when applied to a contemporary political landscape. Dominique's trauma has blinded her to the pragmatism that Michael Aaron, for instance, immediately recognizes.
Which is?
Which is that adhering to this law will guarantee the slaughter of the witch lines, not the vampires.
If Section 1 gave us the context of the law, Then Section 2 forces us to confront the immense personal and emotional cost.
Yes, focusing primarily on the two daughters of the Vida line, Adia, the hunter, and Sarah, the newly turned vampire.
Adia's story begins with just immense psychological and physical strain. We find her driving at 90 miles per hour, trying desperately to drown out what the source describes as the ringing in her ears from the world shattering.
She's not just speeding, she's trying to outrun the total moral collapse of her universe.
And her physical state is immediately symbolic of her life. The text says she has broken fingers and a fractured arm from a previous fight. This isn't just a minor injury. It symbolizes the constant, painful, physical toll that her life as a hunter demands, and it's mirroring the immense emotional toll she is carrying.
The physical injuries reflect a deep internal crack, and the core of that crack is guilt. A profound guilt.
Why guilt?
Because she feels she failed earlier. She had turned around and let one of them give Sarah his blood, referring to Sarah's transformation. She carries the crushing knowledge that she was there, that she could have stopped the event that led to all of this.
To the rights of kin.
Exactly. So now the command to kill her sister is not merely a duty. It's a desperate, almost pathological act of reestablishing her own moral integrity. She repeats this mantra to herself. She had to make herself strong enough. Anything else would be a betrayal of her line.
Her self-image depends entirely on following through.
Entirely. And we see that brutal focus in her immediate actions. Adia and Zachary, her cousin, they immediately violate the sanctity of Single Earth Haven.
The neutral zone sworn to nonviolence.
They walk right in, and they enter, not to stop a vampire attack, but to hunt Nyssa, who is Christopher's sister. And in the process, they end up capturing Heather, a blood bond of the ancient vampire Kaleo.
And capturing Heather it's a strategic move, but it's a moral disaster for the Vidas, isn't it?
It's a catastrophe. They are using Heather as bait, sacrificing sacred, ancient nonviolence vows for the sake of the rights of kin. Adia, the faithful daughter, is systematically dismantling the moral foundation of her people in the name of upholding a single ancient law.
It's an unsustainable paradox.
Completely.
Now let's turn to Sarah, the cause of all this chaos. Her struggle is even more visceral. She is wrestling with the immediate, horrific consequences of her transformation.
She wakes up a creature of instincts she despises. She has no pulse, the air is useless, and the most devastating detail is the immediate instinctive switch in how she perceives humans. She sees her own human housemate, Christine, and instantly recognizes her as food.
The switch from hunter to prey, or rather hunter to predator, is instantaneous and overwhelming.
It has to be. And her entire identity, remember, was based on being a killer of monsters, dedicated to ancient vows. The transformation is the ultimate betrayal of her entire existence.
Her immediate reaction is profound horror. She keeps repeating that ingrained lesson. A daughter of Via would never allow herself to become a monster.
The sources highlight her physical changes. The faint scars of Ivy, Rose, and Nicholas mark her new body. But her identity crisis is driven by a genuine moral fear of harming innocents.
Right.
When Christine is cooking, Sarah senses the rich metallic smell of her blood. It's not just tempting, it's a physical imperative. The text says Sarah shoves herself backward, terrified of what she might do. She notes that her current ability to withstand the pain of bloodlust will only get worse.
So, she clings to the hope of control. She holds on to Christopher's promise that feeding safely on willing donors, or perhaps animals, as he claims to have done for 50 years, that it's possible.
That hope is the last remnant of her moral self. It means she doesn't have to become the monster her mother believes she already is.
And this internal struggle, this desperate attempt to maintain ethical control, it culminates in Sarah's decision to sacrifice herself.
It does. She believes she has no right to endanger her new allies, the Ravina twins, and sees turning herself in as the only way to fix this mess.
She hopes her death will guarantee Heather's release. The source quotes her saying, "I won't let her be hurt, possibly even killed, on my behalf."
That is the ultimate inverted act of a Vida hunter.
How so?
Well, the hunter is meant to die for the survival of the kin and the destruction of the monster. Sarah is prepared to die to protect a vampire's blood bond, a human allied with the enemy.
She is sacrificing herself for a moral code that entirely rejects the Vida philosophy.
Yes, she chooses ethical survival over familial duty.
Her decision is, ironically, the strongest moral choice made by any Vida in the entire narrative.
It is, and it is this very choice that forces the twins and their allies to realize they cannot simply let her go. Her willingness to sacrifice herself to protect the innocent, even if that innocent is Kaleo's blood bond, proves that the monster wearing Sarah's skin is, in fact, more human than the hunters pursuing her.
So the pressure cooker of the rights of kin immediately starts breaking the hunters, who were supposed to be its most steadfast enforcers.
It really does.
The image of Vida perfection, that rigorous, unflappable self-control, is completely dismantled by the revelations in this section.
And the structure fails at its highest level. The first and arguably most shocking crack appears in Zachary Vida.
He's the 26-year-old cousin, right? The eldest Vida male.
The epitome of the remote, perfectly controlled hunter. Yet, we quickly learn he's constantly on edge, particularly around the telepath Jay Marinich. Zachary is working overtime, putting up complex mental walls to keep Jay out.
Because he's hiding something.
He's hiding something devastating. Zachary admits to Adia and Jay that some time ago he lost a fight. Not just lost it, but was defeated to the point of near death and was offered a choice by a vampire. A slow death or being bled.
And he chose to be bled.
He chose to become a bleeder for vampires, specifically for a patron from Kendra's line.
Let's pause on what this means for the listener. To be a bleeder is the ultimate shame for a hunter, right?
It's the ultimate hypocrisy. It means he secretly provides blood to his enemy. But the arrangement wasn't just about survival, it was transactional. This specific arrangement allowed him to maintain his perfect facade.
How did he do that?
His patron, or her associated vampires, would subtly intervene in tricky fights, ensuring Zachary survived and kept his secret.
So his very perfection, his survival in battles, was a lie.
A complete lie.
Subsidized by the vampires he was sworn to destroy. That level of systemic hypocrisy is just. It's incredible. And his motivation wasn't purely fear, was it?
No, it was shame, driven by the Vida Code. He admits he got sloppy. He started trying to lose fights so they would kill him, and he wouldn't have to admit his failure to the rest of the Vidas.
He'd rather die than be seen as imperfect.
Exactly. He was living a perpetual lie, terrified that his kin would discover his weakness. The shame of being a bleeder was less terrifying than the shame of being imperfect in the eyes of Dominique.
This secret inevitably surfaces when Sarah confronts him. When he has the chance to kill her, the source is specific.
Yes, it is.
Zachary hesitates. He sees regret in Sarah's eyes and recalls their shared memories. He doesn't push the knife forward, allowing Sarah, in her newly vampiric strength, to nearly kill him instead.
He hits the absolute limit of the Vida Code. He tries to rationalize, it's not Sarah, it's just a monster. But when the moment of truth arrives, that loyalty to perfection breaks. The source notes that something in him had decided to die instead.
So his hesitation confirms that the Vida Code of ruthless control is not just hypocritical, it is utterly self-destructive.
Completely. And the only person who can truly see all this internal devastation is Jay Marinich, the empath.
Right. His experience of the conflict is visceral, because his telepathy makes the Vida's mental walls and emotional armor useless.
Jay's ability to read minds forces him to see the truth that the Vidas desperately try to hide. He correctly deduces that Sarah intended to turn herself in, and he risks confrontation by openly stating that he doesn't believe Sarah is a monster and that they are pursuing innocent prey.
So his own lines, philosophy, scholarship, empathy, it's in direct conflict with the Vida law.
Direct conflict. He obeys the rights of kin out of loyalty to his kin, but he actively pushes Adia to see the moral disaster they are marching toward.
He also serves as the group's oracle, connecting this immediate crisis to the deeper rot of the Vida line.
He does. He reveals the dark history between Dominique and the vampire Jerome, specifically connecting it to the death of Dominique's first love, Frederick Callison.
And that revelation that Dominique's past is just as compromised and messy as Zachary's present is the final piece of the puzzle that dismantles Vida authority.
Yes. Jay doesn't just see the present. He sees the historical pattern of self-destruction the Vidas are repeating, driven by the matriarch's shame and secrecy.
Meanwhile, Michael Aron, the last of his line, takes the intensely pragmatic approach.
He does. He is intensely loyal to Sarah and rejects the bull of Vida law entirely. He knows that following this law will lead to the extinction of his line, too.
So he sees it for what it is, a suicide pact.
Michael immediately recognizes that adherence to the rights of kin guarantees disaster. He uses his political savvy to navigate the vampire world, openly risking confrontation with Nicholas at the club Phaethon.
And he knows he's safe there.
He knows that Kendra, the ancient vampire matriarch who governs Manhattan, protects him there. which is a profound admission. He's leveraging the complex, secret political landscape of the vampire world to circumvent his own witch duties.
He even strikes a dangerous deal with Kendra for a temporary green light to operate in her territory. Now, we need to clarify this for the listener. Why is dealing with Kendra such a betrayal of witch principles?
Well, it's the ultimate betrayal of the concept of the witch as a righteous, independent force. Kendra is a massive, ancient power. She essentially owns Manhattan.
She runs the city.
She runs the city. And Michael reveals that Kendra has an arrangement with some hunters with regards to whom and when and where they may hunt in her city. This means that hunters are already operating under a truce.
A secret agreement with the vampire power structure.
Yes. So the Vida's ideal of purity and continuous righteous hunt is utterly fake. Michael has been operating in this gray area for survival.
So he's openly collaborating with the enemy.
He is. To end the rights of kin without wholesale slaughter, even if it means lying to the Vidas about the true political reality, he is governed by loyalty to Sarah and survival, not loyalty to the law.
So he forces Adia's hand.
He essentially forces Adia to accept a pragmatic, time-limited solution. One night to resolve the rights of kin within Kendra's territory, without escalating the conflict into a full-scale, unwinnable war. This level of cooperation between hunter and ancient vampire fundamentally breaks the narrative that Dominique is trying to enforce.
So the shifting alliances and the ethical nuances on the vampire side are just as complex as the crumbling loyalties among the witches.
Oh, absolutely. When Sarah decides to sacrifice herself, the reaction from the Ravenna twins, Nicholas and Christopher, is immediate and absolute refusal.
They won't let her do it.
Not a chance. They are closer than human twins, their powers are entwined, and they insist Sarah has a right to go on.
And their bond is not just emotional, it's a tactical advantage.
A massive tactical advantage.
Yeah.
Michael Aaron notes that their auras are so mixed, it is hard to tell there are two of them, which means eliminating one is often functionally pointless. They are united in their protection of Sarah.
And they respect her choice, even if they won't allow it.
They do. They recognize that her self-sacrifice is an act of moral integrity, and they see her choice to protect others as proof she's worth saving.
And this is where Sarah begins her education in the ethical nuances of vampirism, a side of the monster world her mother violently denied existed.
Exactly. Nicholas introduces her to the concept of safely feeding from willing donors found at specific clubs like Phaethon in Manhattan. He draws a clear line between necessity and predatory killing.
And her first successful feed is the narrative centerpiece of her transformation away from a killer.
It is. She feeds on Jake, a human donor who is a music student. The source describes this as a shared, intimate experience. Critically, she experiences Jake's world through his blood, specifically the concept of a symphony and a sense of oneness with eternity.
It's not just sustenance. It is a connection.
Right.
And that moment is profoundly important. It confirms to Sarah and to us that she can choose not to be a killer.
The act of feeding is not purely predatory. It can be a consensual exchange, a shared experience. It debunks the core Vida doctrine that all vampires are irredeemable monsters.
Nicholas drives this philosophical divide home, doesn't he?
He does, stating his long-held insight. Those who kill during their first nights as a vampire are driven more often to kill in the nights after.
So Sarah's choice to feed safely, though difficult and assisted, determines her future path.
She is actively choosing the path away from the monster her mother tried to create.
And this ethical differentiation is what separates the twins from ancient vampires like Kaleo.
Yes, Kaleo, the cruel artist. He's a self-declared sadist who previously tortured Sarah's human housemate Christine just to spite Nicholas. He is not a good guy.
Not at all. Yet Kaleo and Jerome, the information broker, remain central to the survival strategy.
Jerome's role is one of profoundly complicated self-interest. He is Dominique's former lover, directly involved in the root of her trauma. When Adia seeks him out for information, he immediately recognizes the rights of kin as a mechanism for suicide.
So he tries to stop it.
He warns Adia that the law guarantees the death of the witch line, not the vampires, because of the twins' powerful allies like Kaleo and Kendra. He actively attempts to stop the confrontation, advising Adia to find an option, be creative.
He's the ultimate pragmatic truth teller. He's the one who tells Adia there is no such thing as perfection.
He views both witches and vampires as players in a large, messy game, and he is unwilling to see wholesale, unnecessary slaughter. He uses his influence to warn the twins about Adia's approach, ensuring the hunters fail to capture Sarah when she attempts to turn herself in.
So he's the ultimate neutral political force.
Exactly. He is protecting his old lover's daughter, not out of sentimental love for Dominique, but because allowing the Vidas to succeed would disrupt the fragile power balance he thrives on.
And then there's the truly surprising intervention, Kaleo, the cruel, ancient Roman artist who traffics in human suffering.
Yes,
Despite his clear indifference to Sarah's life, he approaches her to warn her about the hunters.
he does. And his reasoning is fascinating. He cites their shared blood and her action of saving his blood bond, Heather, as making them kin.
Kin. That's a powerful word to use.
It's a remarkable moment of bizarre, unexpected loyalty. Sarah saved Kaleo's property, which, in the immortal, centuries-old calculus of the vampire world, creates a bond of respect that transcends the hunter-prey dynamic.
So this illustrates that even among the monsters, there are established, rigid, and sometimes surprisingly ethical codes of conduct.
Codes and alliances that the rigid, singular focus of vital law utterly failed to account for. They are complex players, not just targets.
The narrative tension builds to a brilliant symbolic setting. The climax occurs during a Broadway show, Wicked.
It's a perfect choice. Kendra specifically chose this location because she thought Sarah, having gone from good witch to monster, would appreciate the themes of identity and moral ambiguity.
And Adia, leading the hunt, is at her emotional limit, knowing she must force the issue.
Adia is desperate. She enters the theater lobby intentionally to draw Sarah out, adhering to Michael's deal to allow a chance for talk or escape rather than a bloodbath.
She's fueled by the shock of Zachary's revelation.
And the profound realization that her entire life dedicated to perfection has been a lie. Her physical and emotional injuries have finally caught up to her.
So the confrontation is less a fight and more a spectacular emotional breakdown.
It really is. Adia is crumbling. She confronts Sarah and reveals the utter, total internal decay of the Vida line, which was supposed to be the paragon of strength.
What does she say?
She says, and the source details her sheer despair, that Zachary has been letting vamps snack on him in his free time. Dominique's practically disappeared. She is alone, tasked with upholding a code she now knows is built on hypocrisy.
And she begs Sarah to let her drop the rights of kin.
She does. She offers forgiveness. This is the exact opposite of her mandate. It's an act of profound sisterly love and desperation. They share a desperate embrace, a moment of profound connection.
But it's instantly shattered by external misunderstanding.
Instantly, Nicholas arrives, sees the embrace, and believes Sarah is betraying them. He immediately intervenes, beginning to choke Adia. This is the literal moment where the internal conflict of the hunters and the external loyalty of the vampires collide with lethal force.
And the intervention is just chaotic and political.
Completely. Kendra and Jay Marinich both arrive, the ancient vampire and the empathic scholar, pulling the twins off Addie and taking Sarah out.
And Jerome's there too.
Jerome, Dominique's former lover, also arrives and resuscitates Adia. The confrontation ends not in a decisive kill, but a chaotic, politically inconvenient stalemate.
They failed to execute the law, but they also failed to stop the hunters without attracting major attention.
It's a failure for everyone.
Yeah.
And the stalemate forces the final devastating negotiation, a closed-door confrontation between Adia, Zachary, Jerome, and Dominique.
This is the moment Jerome drops the ultimate secret bomb.
Yes. He reveals the root of Dominique's obsession, her true, compromised past, her relationship with Jerome, and her role in the death of Frederick Callison.
The truth is stunning.
It really is. Dominique had a wild past with Jerome before her marriage, and she used his blood to make it all disappear in a haze. She married Frederick Callison, a fellow hunter who was later turned into a vampire.
And Frederick begged Dominique to kill him.
Which she did. A mercy killing. The greatest hunter, the woman preaching the Iron Law, was not only involved with a vampire but also committed a mercy killing.
The source summarizes her subsequent life in one perfect, heartbreaking analogy. She became a recovering alcoholic, violently preaching sobriety.
That's it, exactly. Her extreme adherence to Vida law, her demand for perfection from her daughters, was not integrity. It was decades of deep-seated penance, self-denial, and the desire to prevent her children from repeating her mistake.
So her foundation of perfection is revealed as absolute hypocrisy.
Her law was vengeance, dressed up as duty. And Adia, having seen the full truth of her mother's compromises and witnessed the profound shame and weakness of Zachary, delivers the final, defining blow.
She doesn't condemn her mother with anger, does she?
No, she uses the strength gained from surviving the system. She tells Dominique, "I forgive you, but you must step down."
And Dominique concedes. She can't deny it.
She's unable to deny the truth of her own failure to live up to the standards she demanded of everyone else. The law breaks its issuer.
Adia immediately becomes the new matriarch.
Yes, leading the surviving hunters, Zachary, Michael, and Jay. And the immediate threat of the rights of kin is neutralized because the person who invoked it has lost her authority.
And the resolution, though messy, is a fundamental shift toward compromise and acceptance.
It is. Zachary, now free of the demand for perfection, acknowledges that the game is complicated. And Jay, the scholar and empath, summarizes the lesson for the surviving witches.
What's the lesson?
They must move past the self-destructive goal of perfection and embrace balance. The hunt should just be the hunt, conducted by natural laws and necessity, not anger, not vengeance, not deep-seated trauma.
So this entire deep dive reveals the ultimate paradox. The crisis wasn't caused by the twins turning Sarah. The crisis was caused by the unsustainable generational demand for perfection and self-denial within the hunter society itself.
Absolutely. Sarah and Zachary found a kind of freedom by accepting their flaws, their needs, and their connections to their prey.
So the greatest act of loyalty Adia performed was not fulfilling the law that demanded her sister's death.
No, it was choosing to forgive her sister and, crucially, change the law that was destroying their family from the inside. They survived by allowing themselves to be imperfect, compromised, and messy.
It's a fascinating look at how deeply ingrained legal and moral systems can eventually destroy the very people they are meant to protect.
It was an internal civil war, fought not with swords, but with ancient, inflexible doctrines.
They realized that their uncompromising internal laws, their own versions of the rights of kin, were ultimately destroying family, identity, and the long-term stability of the witch lines.
The way forward wasn't rigidity, but adaptability.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? If the witches had to step down from their rigid, self-denying pursuit of perfection to survive, what might that lesson mean in your world? What ancient, inflexible rights of kin, what uncompromising internal laws or personal vows might you be holding on to that are currently destroying or undermining the very things you are trying to protect? Something to mull over as you navigate your own complicated alliances and duties.